You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cricket Podcast. We've got two pieces of action to talk about. We've got England v Zimbabwe as England romped to heroic innings victory over the Zimbabweans, and we've got some IPL action to keep you abreast of. We'll be picking up the IPL in part two. We'll be starting with England. I'm Jack Hope. I'm joined by Max Roy Brown. How you doing, Max?
Hello. I'm good, Jack. I'm good. I'm excited. because we're off to Wembley today, aren't we, for the League Two playoff final. I think it's actually the first time I've been to Wembley for a proper football game that matters. Like I've saw Soccer Aid there once, and I saw South Korea against Gabon in the Olympics, I think, but never been for a final. So this is big.
I've been to Wembley a few times. I've seen Wimbledon v Corinthian Casuals back in 2008, I reckon.
What was that? The FA Trophy?
No, it was the centenary of this. Is I'm hoping that lots of England fans have tuned in for this because it's really not got international appeal. Corinthian Casuals are like the highest ranked or the highest placed amateur football team in the pyramid. There's something special about them. For their centenary, they play. Actually, the Corinthian Casuals, the team they played like one of the Brazilian sides for some reason recently.
So maybe they Brazilian
sides. I think maybe it was Corinthians, but they stole their kit, etc. Anyway, it was their centenary, so they chose Wimbledon as the opposition, and I went, and there were like 10,000 people in the whole of Wembley.
Wow.
That I've been to the NFL for a decade. All of those games technically matter.
Well, that's true. Actually, I've been to the NFL. Yeah. I think soccer.
I've seen Wimbledon in the playoff final there, and I've seen another game as well of some consequence.
Wow.
So I've seen a little bit.
You're doing good. Tell you what, you want to bring it back to cricket? I think.
Yeah, let's bring it back.
I may be mistaken, but I think Alex Stewart might have played for Corinthian Casuals.
Really? Oh, we'll check that when you do the summary of the Test match. I'll check that.
You can look it up.
We'll verify it. Yeah. Before we get going, a reminder: you'll be listening to the adverts, I'm sure, if you are picking us up on Spotify or Apple or one of the podcast platforms. You can find a link to BetterHelp in the show notes. You can also find a link to our Patreon, patreon.com/the cricket pod in there. We've been like sort of crossing wires with Dan on getting this IPL eliminated squad rebuild episode sorted, but I've been messaging him. It's going to happen. Like it's a thing. It'll probably happen in the next few days. Got to get rid of these bank holidays. I mean, and holidays in general. No more holidays for the cricket podcast. That's what I say. Just cricket and podcast.
After next weekend, we can put that rule in.
What, are we on holiday? Are you on holiday next weekend?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, for God's sake, Max! for God's sake. Cool. Look, let's get into some cricket. We've waffled on about Wimbledon and Corinthian Casuals and Wembley for too long. England took on Zimbabwe. What happened, Max?
Yes, they did. It was a one-off test match at Trent Bridge. A lot of fun and excitement ahead of it to see Zimbabwe in town after 22 years of not playing against England and all the previous that goes along with England and Zimbabwe and world competition. And Zimbabwe won the toss. They got off to a good start. Then they put England in, and that didn't go so well because Zach Crawley, number 1, scored 100. Ben Duckett, number 2, scored 100. And Ollie Pope, number 3, also scored 100. It was a 231-run opening stand for England. It was a pretty chastening day for the Zimbabwe bowlers. We were all excited to see what Blessing Muzarabani had to offer. And, he offered the ball to the batters, and the batters smashed it around the park, mostly. On top of that, Richard Ngarava, the other opening bowler, only managed 9 overs before injuring himself in the field. So that was his entire test match done within the space of about 2 hours. So that was fairly upsetting for Zimbabwe as well. And all in all, pretty tough. England racked up just shy of 500 runs on day one for the loss of 3 wickets. And there was only really one way the game was going to go after that. But credit to Zimbabwe because they came back on day 2. They bowled a lot better. They took a few wickets, made things a bit tougher for England, and they eventually declared on 565 for 6. And they continued fighting Zimbabwe, and Brian Bennett was the standout for them with a really impressive, pretty much run a ball 139. there was a drop, a fairly bad drop from Joe Root in there, but that doesn't matter because the rest of the innings was pretty impressive. And it was nice to see Zimbabwe make a fight of it. They still didn't quite manage to attain enough runs to avoid the follow-on. England duly put them back in, and almost the same innings happened again. 265 innings one, 255 innings two. It was an innings win for England, and the standout bowler for Jack for England, Jack, as trailed in the title of this background for our video, Shoaib Bashir. 3 wickets in the first innings, 6 wickets in the second innings. We questioned whether he was any good, whether he should be England's side. He's averaging 150 on loan at Glamorgan in the county championship this year, but he's come back and he's shown us all why he's in this England side. Shoaib Bashir.
Fair enough, actually. He bowled really well. I think that's the first. Obviously, that's going to be the major talking point from this game. I mean, you can. Actually, what are the talking points from this game? There's Shoaib Bashir, did Sam Cook bowl well, and there's what's the future of Ollie Pope? And they made what's the future of Ollie Pope into a topic after the test. Kind of, with talk of agendas and stuff like that. Let's start with Shoaib Bashir. We were pretty outspoken, I think, in terms of our opinion of the likelihood of him being a success for England over the next 11 matches. After the first one, you can't really argue with the performance from his point of view. Like, you have to take into account that it was against Zimbabwe. That is something that we have to be aware of. This doesn't mean, just like it won't mean when we get to the Ollie Pope discussion, it won't mean that Ollie Pope gets selected forever now. It doesn't mean that Shoaib Bashir should be selected forever now. But we had reservations about his ability basically going into this match. He picks up 9 wickets, takes a sixfer in the second innings. Can't really do more than that. Like, there's no argument after that performance to move on to another player. Yep, it's only Zimbabwe, but he's taken a 9 for. He's by miles England's best bowler over the test match.
No one else took a 9 for, and it was a pretty flat deck as well.
Yeah, he has bowled well. And then if you dig a little bit deeper, and I've seen a few articles on this, because the question obviously then becomes did he bowl better or did Zimbabwe bat worse than the other teams that Shoaib Bashir has been playing? And it looks like if you compare Shoaib Bashir's pitch maps against New Zealand and against Zimbabwe, that he did bowl better. He didn't bowl as full. He bowled much more on a good length. He attacked the stumps a lot more, bowled a lot closer to the stumps. There's a lot of signs of progress. Now, the discussion point or the thing that we'll be looking for in the future is whether against more talented batters, no disrespect to Zimbabwe, some of them batted pretty well, to be fair, but against India and against Australia, will their batters have tactics that stop him doing that? The answer is probably yes, but if the answer is no, or if he finds a solution to whatever India and Australia try, that type of bowling can be really effective. He showed something. He showed development. He definitely showed development across this test match, or in this test match versus what we've seen before. Now, I don't know what he's been up to at Glamorgan. Not taking any wickets, we know that, but I haven't been studying Shoaib Bashir pitch maps from the county championship, so I don't know if this was a one-off and he bowled really, really well here, or whether he's been unlucky for Glamorgan, or what's going on. But if we look at the last time we saw Shoaib Bashir, and we look at now, we have to say fair play. He's taken a step in the right direction. Is that fair enough, Max?
Yeah, I think so. I think your point about whether or not he bowled better in this game compared to his previous exploits in Pakistan and New Zealand, it bears out in the way he took the wickets. They were genuine wickets. He got batters out. There weren't any cheap hoiks up in the air, caught on the boundary kind of thing, which has been some of what he's managed to do in his career so far. I mean, that's not entirely fair. I think the West Indies game at Trent Bridge as well last year, where he took a 5 for it and ran through the West Indies lineup. Most of those, nice cricket, nice bowling, but his wickets in Test cricket have been a bit expensive at times, but in this match, they were genuine wickets where he got the batters out, he bowled in the right place, and I was impressed with him, especially after the first ball, which was the horrible rank full toss outside off stump. And I was just a little bit like, oh no, here we go, it's all happening, it's all coming down. So fair play to Shoaib Bashir. I was impressed with his bowling, and it's good for England for Shoaib Bashir to be good, because obviously they're going to give him and have given him a lot of time and plenty of rope to play with when it comes to cementing a place in the side, and obviously all eyes on the Ashes. So as England fans, we should want Shoaib Bashir to be doing very well, so that when it comes to the Ashes, England have a settled lineup and an attacking option with the ball in the spin department to use. So yeah, I'm pleased for him. It was a good show, but obviously all the caveats that you mentioned are still there. It was with you always say it, don't you? With the greatest of respect to Zimbabwe, and then that just means you're about to say that they're not very good. So I don't know why people ever bother putting that statement before those phrases, but it is only Zimbabwe, so you do have to bear that in mind. And India will be the big test later in the year, but no signs that England need to panic and press the ejector seat button just yet. So that's good. And well bowled, nicely done.
Yeah, definitely. If you move on to Ollie Pope, he obviously does very, very well. 171 off 166 balls, so a daddy ton very quickly. It's what England are all about. Then. Yeah, and we should say Zach Crawley scores some runs as well. So well done to Zach Crawley. I mean, the two guys under pressure. We said this before the match. Like, there's, Ben Stokes
people
made a comment.
In the firing line of the Jacob Bethel chat.
Yeah, Ben Stokes made a comment that put them both under pressure. They both scored runs. And what's interesting here, though, is that Ben Stokes has sort of tried to walk it back immediately. Now his comment, like, I just want to read this out. If you talk about nailing down a position, Beth has done himself the world of good with the performances he put in New Zealand over the winter. I think you can put 2 and 2 together. Now that sounds a lot like Jacob Bethel is going to be in your 11. After the game, Zach Crawley gets his ton, Pope gets his ton. After the game, Stokes comes out and he says he made it pretty clear that Bethel was guaranteed no more than coming back into the squad. What was written, that was written to suit an agenda that was being said away from what is in the team. It's unfortunate that you say something and it can get twisted. I mean, I hate to break it to Ben Stokes there.
It's a very light twisting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not. There's not a huge amount of twisting that has gone on there. That's I believe in comm circles that is known as walking back. A statement. If we set aside the noise a little bit, what does this mean for the Bethel, Crawley, Pope love triangle?
I suppose it means they don't have an excuse to jettison one of them immediately ahead of the India series. So it basically it means the easy money for Stokes in England, and bearing in mind the rowing back that they've done on that statement is probably the way they're going to go to start with. It makes the easier decision to stick with it, and obviously Bethel can come back into the squad and be there as an option if there's an injury, and it would make it quite difficult to drop one of them after those runs. But this is England, so you shouldn't be surprised if they go and do something wacky. But I think they'll stick with it. But the pressure's going to be there, isn't it? Now, like Ben Stokes coming out and saying, "Oh no, that's not what I meant. You've twisted my words. Obviously, I was only talking about a place in the squad." Like, no one's going to buy that. Like, who comes out and talks about nailing down a place in a squad? It's utterly meaningless, So I think it's fair for everyone to jump to the conclusions they did on what Ben Stokes said, and that means, I can't see anyone taking what Ben Stokes came out with face value to any real degree, and that means the pressure will be there over the two of them for most of the India series as well. So it changes things slightly in the sense that they can't make a knee-jerk decision now because neither of them got a golden duck against a Zimbabwe attack that, aside from Mizrabani, was pretty much plodding at 78 miles an hour on an absolute road. And it doesn't mean that any of them are safe because of the same point. So I expect they'll stick with the top three, and we'll probably see halfway through the India series all that noise coming back once again, which probably isn't very helpful. And once again, everyone can roll out the Rob Key meme about England coming out and saying stupid things that don't help them. Sack the comms manager. Get a new PR department.
I think they're kind of damned if they do, damned if they don't. Like I don't think after this match, like if you're going to treat it like a test match, which England basically did, they took it pretty seriously. They tried to beat Zimbabwe. They didn't screw around at all. They could definitely have gone into beer game mode, had another bat, all sorts of stuff. They didn't. They were just like, we're gonna absolutely batter Zimbabwe, which I think is the right way to play the game. I mean, like a few people commented that it wasn't very interesting, and that's probably true. You know, I'm confident enough in my love of Test cricket to admit that one of the faults of Test cricket is that when you get mismatches, that matches do turn out to be very, very boring. And this was a boring match. But away from all of that, if you're taking it seriously, then you have to take those runs somewhat seriously. You're spot on, though. As soon as either Pope or Crawley gets under 10, and it will happen, they're playing Jasprit Bumrah. As soon as that happens,
it's going to happen a few times.
Like there'll be comments about whether it was right, whether Bethel should be in, all of that. It will escalate pretty quickly, I think. And Stokes hasn't helped either of them with his comments before or after the match. I think like talking about agendas and stuff like that, like you're backing yourself into a corner a little bit there around whether you even can drop Pope. If you're going to come out as strongly as he has, because I read out a bit of the quote, I didn't read out all of it. He goes on to say how useful Pope is in the field, how talented he is. Like, well, if you say all of that, it is difficult to then drop him after 2 tests. Like you're probably riding that train for a little while, and if you do drop him, like it's a little bit of a dagger to the heart for Ollie Pope, isn't it? If you said all those things and immediately got rid of him for the next option. So they've look, I'd have been if I were Stokes, and I'm not. And Stokes, we have to acknowledge here as well, has done some great stuff as England captain. Probably does know what he's doing.
Came back and bowled really well in this game.
Came back and bowled really well. I wouldn't have said those things. It was what it was.
I think for me, he said those things. Not the easier, but probably the better way to deal with it afterwards would have been to be like, look, I misspoke slightly. That's not what I meant. What I was trying to say was this, and the words came out wrong. And fair enough, that's how you read it. Rather than you guys, you're always against us. Come on, like there's the battle, the war between English sport and the media is fabled and as a tale as old as time. And maybe sometimes you should just try and be a bit more conciliatory and for the betterment of all of English sport. But that's not how we do things over here, is it? We like to make things as difficult as possible for ourselves. It does make it fun. So
yeah, should we talk about Sam Cook? Because he was the talking point going into the test, and in terms of performance, was irrelevant to the outcome of the result. He bowled. I don't know if you would say he bowled well. I think in the first innings you'd probably say he didn't, and then actually in the second innings maybe he bowled a little bit better, but was unlucky. What did you think of Sam Cook? Was he too slow for Test cricket? That's what everyone wants to know, really, isn't it? Like, what's your opinion of the speed of Cook?
Well, I think he's probably too slow / not the kind of bowler who is likely to be successful on the wicket that the game was played on. Because let's face it, it was a road. England, even against the Zimbabwe bowling attack, they ended the day on 498 for 3 or whatever it was. You don't do that unless you're batting on a pretty decent wicket. Like Zimbabwe didn't bowl well on day one. They I think something that they highlighted on the Sky feed was about how since Hawkeye began ball tracking, no team has bowled more balls the leg side of middle stump than Zimbabwe did on day one, which is pretty atrocious.
Bad. I mean,
that is like that's as about as bad as you can be.
I mean, like Zimbabwe, you have to be fair to them a little here. Like they one of their main bowlers went down injured, and so they lose at least a spell, maybe 2 spells from him, which means other people have to bowl who probably weren't expecting to. Maybe people have to bowl more. So there are mitigating factors, but that does mean you are facing a shower. Like really,
yeah. It was poor. So yeah, there's as we've said a couple of asterisks to apply to England's batting, but yeah, it doesn't. Whatever the bowling is, that you don't score that many runs that quickly without there being some level of flatness to the wicket, and you could see it in the way Zimbabwe came out to bat as well. The fact that Shoaib Bashir was the one who did the damage for England kind of gives you an indication of how difficult it was to be a seam bowler on that wicket. It's not like any of the seam bowlers, came out and were making it talk and causing huge problems. Sam Cook was in the same boat as Gus Atkinson and the same boat as Josh Tongue. They were saying Tongue on the comms, so maybe it is Tongue. The mystery continues. So I think it would be harsh to look at this in isolation and say Sam Cook's too slow, not good enough for Test cricket. Just as the same it would be to if he'd come out and taken 10 for to say, well, Sam Cook, well done, you bowled really well, but it was Zimbabwe, so that's not necessarily a complete vindication that you belong. So as with all things, one data point, not enough to draw conclusions, but yeah, he'll be disappointed. He'd have liked to make more of an impact, but he was kind of up against it to a degree. And even in that first innings, Zimbabwe were going along really nicely until Ben Stokes brought himself on and bowled a couple of fairly magic deliveries out of nowhere, which Ben Stokes does do on occasion.
Yeah.
So that changed the game. That meant that England were, into the start of the tail, because Zimbabwe's tail is quite long, and they only had to get 9 people out as well, which did help. So yeah, I think, like I say, he'll be disappointed. He could have bowled better, but it's not a reason to throw him out. But I expect that is what will happen. It does mean it makes it very easy just to bring Chris Woke straight back into the side, and it lengthens the batting as well. So England always like that.
I don't think that is the worst thing in the world. I would say that as well. Like I'm not saying. I think everything you said there about seamers not really doing it for England or Zimbabwe in this test is absolutely true. And I think if you're drawing conclusions about how good, Josh Tongue's figures are 2 for 120 in this test. They're not very good. Like if you're drawing conclusions about him or Cook, Gus Atkinson did a little bit better, but at one point his figures were 58 for none in the first innings.
Yes.
He picked the last couple of wickets.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and he's the kind of bowler who's more likely to be successful on this kind of wicket because he's just up and down on a length, get a bit of bounce.
Yeah, if you're saying all these guys are busted because of this match, then you probably didn't watch it, basically. Probably didn't watch it closely, or probably don't really understand how these, how pitches work, how Test cricket can sometimes work. Having said that, I think if someone said to me, pick an England team for your life right now, I'm taking Chris Wokes, every day of the week and twice on Sunday over Sam Cook. And that's not really a reflection on Sam Cook being rubbish. It's more like, Chris Wokes having hundreds of Test wickets and, as you said, being able to bat and like not wanting to die based on Sam Cook. Anyway, look, that's probably a good place to end part one. Good to get the first test of the year underway. We've got the World Test Championship coming up. That's going to be fun. 5 tests for India, so there's a packed test summer. England have been talking about redoing their schedule for 2027, which is interesting. Maybe we'll pick that up on another show, but they're thinking about going back to a 7-test summer, which I'd be all for, to be honest.
More Test cricket.
6 tests. Like the last summer, like of Test cricket, I thought was a test short. And it was a bit weird. This year playing India, it'll probably be a bit more lively, and obviously you get the World Test Championship, so you get a bonus test if you're in England. But yeah, I'll stop running on. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We'll talk IPL, all of the highly important matches that have been going on there.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Cricket Podcast. A reminder that you can head to the show notes for links to our sponsors, for example, BetterHelp. Or you can sign up as a Patreon, patreon.com/the Cricket Pod. You get access to our Discord where we're chatting cricket 24/7. You get access to bonus content as well. Max, we last did a show on Wednesday. We've had 5 matches since then. Might want to break this down by team rather than
I think so.
doing each side. And I think if we just look at the table, the first or the most obvious team to start with here is the Gujarat Titans.
Yeah.
They played 2, lost 2, Max. So last time we spoke, we were thinking they're nailed on for top 2. Now they still stay top of stand top of the table, but Punjab v Mumbai is happening pretty soon in a few hours' time. So one of them is going to overhaul them, and then RCB will have a shot at the king in the last match of the season. Gujarat Titans, where's it gone wrong for them in these 2 matches?
They've been batting out the game twice. Is what's happened, and I think at times we suggested that if there was one thing that could happen, it would be someone putting up a fairly chunky score. And despite all the brilliance their top 3 has, they don't necessarily have the depth to go that far if they have to go a bit quicker, because their top 3, as we've mentioned and as you've rightly pointed out, it's fairly risk averse, but they still manage to do it at a really good rate. And chasing 200 for this side for the loss of no wickets is something that they are quite good at doing. But you add an extra 30 runs on top of that, and the equation changes slightly. You have to take a little bit more risk, and it puts a little bit more jeopardy for those top 3. Means that they are more likely to fall early, and if that happens, then they don't have enough batting beneath them to be able to go those distances. And that happened twice, basically. Firstly against Lucknow Super Giants, where Mitch Marsh scored a fairly stupendous 117. And
amazing
around, hey,
it was an amazing knock.
Incredible.
You have to say that. Probably won't. We're not going to do each game in detail, but that was innings of his life, probably.
Yeah, he's had a hell of a year, hasn't he? Mitch Marsh. He's been
has.
Yeah. To Lucknow. And Nicky P as well, doing things. And we should spare a thought for Rishabh Pant, who 16 off 6. He made a tiny little step forward in the flopometer. Still very much in it. So yeah, 235. They racked up, and you need one of the top 3 to go big, and they didn't. They made a bit of a fist of it, but still quite far from it. And then in the next game, it was more the fact that they were probably just totally bamboozled by the fact that CSK scored 230 and were just confused about what happened, because that would be a fairly acceptable reaction based on this season. And after conceding 230 to CSK, you probably do all just want to go home and forget the day it ever happened. And that's exactly what they did. So I think sort of
that was a very weird
lightning
game.
struck twice in a way.
Lightning did strike twice. I think as well, Gujarat didn't help themselves in that match. The Gill's captaincy, I have to say, was all over the place. Normally, Gujarat are pretty clever. They do some things that keep the other team off balance. They're like the thinking man's IPL team. They tend to come together as more than the sum of their parts. In this game, they were. Well, I mean, frankly, they were all over the place. They got battered by Ayush Matre. This is going to be fun as well. I mean, for people who don't know this, there'll probably be a few people lingering around from our the Test match conversation we were having who maybe don't follow the IPL that closely. Ayush Matre is going to be captaining Vaibhav Suryavanshi in the India under 19s World Cup squad. Like that is going to be a hell of an opening combo.
That's great.
In children's cricket.
They do it against fully grown men. Imagine what they're going to do to children.
Like, so that's something to watch out for. But like I think the way he captained the team the whole way through was just slightly weird. Just it didn't make sense. Particularly, I think the use of Prasidh Krishna at the end of the innings. Just to highlight the most obvious of these, but there were a few others like Shahrukh Khan getting a bowl, even though it actually did work. He got Dubey out. Prasidh Krishna bowled the 20th over and not the 19th over. Siraj bowled the 19th over. Siraj predictably went all round the park. There were Brevis hitting for 20 or something like that. Nobody could play Prasidh Krishna. He was bowling so well, and if he gets in the Test squad, that's going to be a handful for England. The way he was bowling yesterday, and you were just sort of wondering, like watching that and wondering, like, why has Gill gone away from the tactic that everyone uses because it makes loads of sense, using your best bowler for the 19th over to take the pressure off the worst bowler for the 20th over, and instead Prasidh Krishna was bowling with the score on 222 or something like that, and the game was sort of already gone. Like, had this been a chase of 220, that might have been something that they could get, but the extra 10 runs, they get exponentially more hard to get, I think. And they open the sort of door there. A few other weird things. Then in terms of batting, you're sort of right. Like, it's difficult for this team to get 230. You are basically relying on Buttler. No disrespect to sides of Darson or Shubman Gill. They're great if you need up to about 200, but the guy with the extra gear and the ability to really pile on is Buttler. He gets 5 or 7 balls, and the rest of them batted like they wanted to go home. To be honest, I think they're going to struggle in the playoffs. I've been a big buyer of Gujarat all season, and I think at this point, Butler going home,
huge.
Yeah.
Hey, look, maybe Kusal Mendes will be exactly as good.
He could be. You never know. So that's Gujarat. The other teams we probably want to keep an eye on. Punjab, they lost to Delhi, Max. They had a chance to seal top 2. Delhi played really well. Yeah, they do. Delhi, good work by Delhi, I would say. Yeah,
it was. Punjab did a pretty good job with the bat. They put up 206 for 8. That's not to be sniffed at, and that was largely thanks to an almost lesser seen Marcus Stoinis these days, with 44 of 16 at the death, which is pretty good work in the finishing sphere. But Delhi Capitals made fairly light work of that, and it was a contribution from almost everyone, which was nice. There wasn't one man taking them forward. Everyone scored, apart from Tristan Stubbs, who only managed 18 or 14 at the end. Only at least 20 from everyone in the top 5, and it was Samir Rizvi who was the main man with 58 of 25. So it was an all round decent show from Delhi, and it was quite nice for them that everyone contributed as well, because they're another side that's probably quite heavily weighted to a few players in that batting lineup that you'd be relying on for a fairly sizable chase. So good effort from them, and also runs for Karan Nair, who's sniffing around the India Red Bull setup as well, on the back of some IPL form by the looks of things, which always makes perfect sense. So that's all good. But no, I think in fairness to Punjab in this case, you'd probably be a bit disappointed failing to defend a score of 200 plus, but Delhi batted well, and you have to give them credit, and sometimes just say fair enough to the team that beats you. But like I said, Punjab have got one more go against Mumbai today to top that table. That will be a tough ask as well, but they've got a second shot at it, unlike Gujarat, who are they're in the position of praying for some help from elsewhere.
Yeah, look, that Mumbai v Punjab game was going to be exciting. That's on in a few hours' time. Nair though, Max. I think you're doing it dirty there. He got 100 in the Ranji final. He got 100 in the Ranji final for his team. Vidarbha. Probably got that wrong. Sorry about that. The people of that state. They won the Ranji. He got a bunch of runs in
fair
it.
Enough.
Harsh
it's quite surprising, isn't it, when you look at all the names flying around in India, and Sai Siddharth and all the rest of it, and then Karen Nair's coming up on the inside, sneaking through.
Don't sleep on Karen Nair, and don't sleep on Harsh Dubey as well. He's been
also Karen Nair's 33. Like it's one of those. It's just a classic, like the new kid on the block for India, and he's 33. It's all very India.
Look, Punjab done. The other team I did want to talk about was a little bit, Max, was Sunrisers, who we've been talking about how Chennai Super Kings, like, kind of because of their own incompetence, have accidentally uncovered like a bunch of players that could do really well for them next year. They've managed to recruit in Devil Brevis. We've done it a few times. We've gone through the theoretical 11 that Chennai could put out next year, and we're like, that's not bad. You put Gaikwad into that 11, and you get an overseas seam bowler who can actually take a wicket in the power play, and you don't need
an overseas opener now because they've got Ayush Matre to very reliably score about 30 or 15.
Yeah, there's definitely a team coming together for Chennai. Sunrisers, we wondered whether they were a complete bust at one point this year. Obviously they started with 286, and we were like, yep, they're going to walk the playoffs just as we expected. Then they lost, I think, 7 of their next 8 matches to basically eliminate themselves. And then they found a little bit of form, won their last 3 matches, all fairly convincingly. Would have beaten Delhi as well. That was one that was rained off when Delhi had made only 122 at the break. Had that game not been rained off, Max, I think Sunrisers would have ended up 5th in the table.
Yeah,
it was good. I think it was good that they didn't pack their bags. They've obviously, kind of gone back to blast it mode, which is fun. Klaasen's century was incredible yesterday, and Harsh Dubey looks like he could be a little bit of a find. I don't think he's probably not the next big thing. He's probably not the next Jadeja, but he looks decent. There's some good stuff coming through for Sunrisers suddenly.
He's made his way into the India A side as well on the back of, I think he was top wicket taker in the Ranji. So he
it was 69 wickets at 15. Plus he scored 400 runs.
That's quite good, isn't it? That's quite main man energy. So open the batting, open the bowling for your club side vibes. Yeah, so good. Yeah, there's loads of guys coming through. It's really exciting for the domestic scene at the moment in India by the looks of things. But Heinrich Klaasen innings was something to behold. It was vintage Klaasen, and it was nice to see him back, because he's had, like, by his standards, I guess, a disappointing year, only averaging 35 at a strike rate of 150 something before this innings. So nice for him to get those runs at the end, and it was absolutely sublime to watch. And the thing that always amazes me about Heinrich Klaasen is just, I think his strike rates in the IPL this year are pretty much identical against spin and seam. He doesn't really have a weakness to speak of. Like, there's a lot of players where you look at them and you're like, well, there's an obvious thing that you will do to try and tie them up, or try and force a mistake. But with Heinrich Klaasen, sometimes it does just feel like, well, we'll just have to hope that he makes a mistake at some point, because he's incredible. And it was a joy to watch that.
With that innings,
KKR were not chasing it down.
No, they weren't. With that innings, he actually books his highest run scoring season in the IPL, 487 runs.
Really?
Just eight more than last year. Yeah. So obviously, like, the fireworks didn't firework at maybe the right time for Sunrisers Hyderabad. If they didn't, the right time.
Didn't for anyone.
But they did come. Like, that's a good season. 13 innings, 487 runs, top scorer 105, averaging 44, strike rate of 172. There were some failures in there. but he's hit the third fastest century of all time. He's almost as good as the 14-year-old at cricket this season. Like that's
imagine having Klaasen coming in after Surivanshi. That'd be nice.
Yeah, imagine Klaasen at the under-19s World Cup. That would be. I think what was the most incredible about him, because this century, this is against a good team. It's not, KKR. It wasn't. They played a couple of, joke. There were a couple of joke selections in there. I'm not sure Quinton de Kock deserved a game, for example. They dropped Venki Iyer, so they spent all that money on him. He wasn't in the squad for. Oh, he was named as an impact sub, and they didn't bring him in. Manish Pandey was batting like 7 for them, so there was a bit of monkey business going on when it came to the batting side. But bowling, like, he's had faced 7 overs of Sunil Narayan and Chakrabarti, and he's absolutely destroyed them. You're talking about his strike rates for spin and pace. I mean, like, they're the two. They might be the 2 best spinners in the IPL, or there's an argument that they're the 2 best spinners in the IPL. He was just clubbing them. You can't bowl to him. I mean, Chakrabarti in particular, it melted his brain. He was just started bowling.
I don't know what to do.
Down.
It's a very reasonable reaction to have to bowling to Heinrich Klaasen in that mood as well.
Oh yeah, I know it is. You're right. I think it's he does the thing that nobody else can do. Basically, he just takes away back of a length, because if you drop short to Klaasen, he always hits you for 6, and most batters play a cut shot, or they flick you around the corner for a single. So if you're a bowler like Sunil Narayan or Chakrabarti, if the batter's going well, you switch to bowl dry mode and you try and hit back of a length. And if you drop a little bit short, probably you don't get hit into the stands. Like, you really have to miss by a long way. Against Klaasen, if you go a foot shorter than back of a length, he will just hit you over long on for 6. It's freakish. It's not supposed to be how the game works. I guess if you bowl
does it without even looking like he's trying to hit it too hard.
Yeah,
as well. That's the most incredible thing. It's not like he's like muscling it. It is quite hard to understand. He picks up length so quickly. It's just so well. It's a joy to watch.
Yeah. Anyway, he's going home. So
that's a shame. Yeah.
That's that. There are 2 more matches, Max. Punjab v Mumbai and Lucknow v RCB. Those 2 matches, they do actually mean something. So they're, we're moaning a little bit that we had 7 meaningless matches, but the way they've sort of turned out, there's actually quite a lot on the line. They're like playoffs for the playoffs in a sense, because the top 2 is such an important thing to achieve. Punjab v Mumbai today, Max.
Yeah.
Where are you going to put your house?
Every time on Mumbai, if they win this game, then I think they are probably comfortable favourites to win the whole thing.
Oh yeah.
Like, just given the fact that they are on paper the better side, and when you take into account the 2 bites of the cherry with the IPL playoffs, the fact that that makes such a big difference, then I think this is it's one fairly big step for them towards being in pole position, and I would back them to take the Punjab side down, because they just I can't see how you beat Mumbai at the moment. You just have to hope that they all play quite badly at the same time.
They're an amazing team. I agree with you. I think they're in 4th place at the moment. I would already have them as favourites for the IPL.
Yeah.
Finishing the top 2 is, you have to do that to actually be, once you get to the playoff stage, to be considered one of the favourites, because of that second bite at the cherry point. But they're 60% probably to beat Punjab. Then they're 60% whoever they play in the qualifier, and then again in the de facto semi-final if they somehow lose. So there's a really, really good chance that Mumbai are going to be in the final, and then they're the big favourites to win that. Like, there's a huge amount of championship equity already in Hardik Pandya's hands, I think. There's not to write off Punjab. They're a good team as well. Like, they're a lot of fun, and they can do some crazy stuff. But like the way Mumbai have played in the second, well, actually pretty much the whole season, but particularly the second half of the season.
The first 5 games aside, basically, they've been unstoppable.
Even in those, they played really good cricket and then did some crazy things. They were in full Rajasthan Royals mode to lose some matches. So yeah, I think Mumbai are favourites. The day after, that's Tuesday, Lucknow v RCB. RCB will be playing for a place in the top 2, whatever happens today. Can they make it? Is that a thing that's going to happen?
Well, I feel like, for RCB, you should be expecting to make it because they're a better side than Lucknow, notwithstanding Mitch Marsh going ballistic and scoring another obscene 100. RCB are a better side, and RCB are the side with skin in the game. LSG, it's meaningless for them. This game doesn't make a difference. It could get them one place higher in the table, up to 6th, but not really anything riding on that at all. So for me, RCB should be favourites, and they should be winning this game because if I'm playing cricket for LSG in this game, I don't really care. But maybe you bat first and you don't care and you score 110 because as an individual that can happen. But I would be back in RCB. I reckon a Mumbai RCB top 2 is where I would put my money.
I think that's probably what I would bet on as well. I think Hazelwood is back. Hazelwood is definitely coming back for RCB for the playoffs. So there's a lot of air miles going into Hazelwood's.
That's interesting.
Abios account. If he's back for this game, I think it really, really tilts it in RCB's favour because that's a massive upgrade. They are, I think, a bowler light. Or like a quality bowler light. Obviously, they can replace him with Ngidi or whatever, but I think there is a big gap between Ngidi and Hazelwood. So I do think they need Hazelwood to be a force in the playoffs. If that all happens and his recovery from the shoulder injury that he has has gone smoothly, RCB are a handful. We're talking Mumbai, but RCB can really, really play. And I think at this stage in the tournament, if we were doing a power ranking, I'd have Mumbai top and then RCB second, then Punjab, then Sunrisers, then Gujarat. I think Gujarat have fallen off quite a long way, and a fully complemented RCB a handful. Anyway, Max, we've done 7 minutes more than we expected. Are we good to wrap up the pod?
I think we are.
All right. Wish us luck at Wembley, everyone. Thanks for the comments. I know there were a few questions in there. Quite a few about the India Test lineup. And we will get to all of that. There'll be loads of coverage of the India-England Test series over the summer. We've got the IPL playoffs coming up and then the World Test Championship. So make sure you click like and subscribe to keep abreast of all of that. And goodbye.
Goodbye.
Wombles, isn't it?
Wombles.
Wombles. Come on, you Wombles. No one says that, but there are Womble songs. Anyway, see you later.